This is a response to Apostate Apostle's continuing discussion of Pandeism. Apis asks, does Pandeism propose a creator that does not innovate, and thus, was the universe a natural side effect of the creator, the deus, fracturing itself, and not an intentional design? Some schools of thought within Pandeism say exactly that. But most Pandeists believe that the universe itself is the innovation of the deus. This universe was intentionally given laws of physics which would permit energy to form into matter, and matter to achieve the molecular complexity which gives rise to life, which is then eventually capable of evolving intelligence. These laws, while complex enough to create life, were also designed to be simple enough to be discerned and manipulated by the intelligent beings that would result, so that we might use them to accelerate our own evolution, as we are beginning to do, with genetic engineering and technological augmentation. Now, let's talk about the omniscient designer punishing itself. It is true that any omniscient creator, whether theistic or pandeistic, must share in all of the suffering that occurs in the universe. But this does not mean that the pandeistic creator is punishing itself. The deus has only relative omniscience. At the time that it creates the universe, it cannot know what suffering it will experience by existing as the universe. It has, up to that point, been alone in existence, without even a physical form, and so it cannot even know what physical suffering is like at all. In becoming the universe, it ceases to be a conscious entity, and indeed surrenders its power to guide the universe away from pain. But note that the pandeistic universe is limited, as science suggests of our universe, and so the amount of suffering that occurs within it is actually very limited, compared to the whole experience of the universe. Suffering is the counterpoint of pleasure, and so it is also necessary for suffering to exist in the universe in order for the deus to know what pleasure is, by contrast. This is contrary to a theistic creator with absolute omniscience. Such a theistic creator does in fact know in advance of all the suffering that will occur, and still chooses to experience it. And, in many branches of theism, it not only chooses to experience the limited suffering occurring in our limited universe, but it also chooses to experience unlimited and eternal suffering disproportionately inflicted as punishment on those who violate its rules, often even including those who did not worship it, because they had never even heard of it. This is the punishment component of suffering, and this unlimited suffering drowns out the limited non-suffering experience of the universe. I'm glad we agree that the idea of a hell is silly. Now, let's briefly discuss the vast emptiness of space. 2 videos in this series address the question of why there is so much inhospitable empty space out there. One is Pandeism explains the stars and galaxies, and the other is Pandeism versus atheism, the inhospitable universe. One is directed towards atheists and the other is directed towards theists. But both explain that the universe is vast and mostly empty, because this is the kind of universe necessary to create life. Life is only possible because complex molecules can form from heavier atoms, and those heavier atoms are forged by physical processes within the hearts of stars, cast out when the star dies. Just as biology requires that a large and inedible apple tree must be grown in order to yield a few tasty apples, so does physics require that an entire universe full of stars with vast distances between them must be created in order to yield a few life-bearing worlds.